Where do we typically find FSBOs? Either the newspaper, not many. It's funny, when I got started at this, there was no Craigslist. It was a newspaper. You paid 50 cents on a Sunday, and you called every for sale by owner. So we were all the brokers trying to get listings. We go through and make 30, 40 calls over a weekend. Okay? Now, when I do a seminar, I inevitably ask, just for curiosity, say, how many people call all the ads in the newspaper every week? And nobody raises their hand. And I say, why? And someone will raise their hand, they'll say, oh, there's not that many. And I say, then it shouldn't take you that long. Come on, there's some there. They're worth calling, okay? Mostly you're going to find them, there's some in the newspaper, and most of them are going to be on websites like Craigslist, Zillow, ForSaleByOwner.com, etc. Now, when you're calling a for sale by owner, and we'll go over the script a little bit later about what to say and what to ask, mostly you're going to find that these people are complete morons. All right? They're selling it because they want top dollar, or they think they're smarter than a broker, or they have no equity, or they're convinced the property is worth more than the broker's telling them. And it's a tough nut to crack. And people will tell me, I've looked on Craigslist and I haven't found any good for sale by owners. I said, what are you looking for? Well, I'm looking for an ad that looks good. You mean like 50% off, no money down, come steal my house? Is that the ad you were looking for? Because I haven't seen that ad. People are going to go on Zillow. Zillow will tell them what it's worth. It's probably more than it's worth. And they're going to ask full price. Now, are they willing to take less? Maybe, maybe not. How would you know unless you call them? Most people make 1 or 2 or 3 calls on for sale by owners. They get some knucklehead who wants too much, not willing to discount, and they give up. And I'll admit, most people who are selling for sale by owner on these websites are morons. They're living in la-la land about what their house is worth, what they think they should get, whether or not to use a broker, and all that stuff, okay? So there's not a lot of pickings there, but there are some, and they're worth calling, at the very least, to get practice at negotiating and discussing things with people, okay? So I think you should be calling these people and having a discussion and then trying to weed out very quickly whether or not there's potentially something there. And again, you don't know what the story is until you call. You assume because the ad says X, there's no deal. You got to learn to read between the lines. You see out-of-state numbers? Call those. If it says for sale or rent, call those. Okay? The ones that have little hidden messages like, I'll rent it for up to 6 months, but then you got to show it, and no one's going to rent that property. And they're paying the payments in the meantime. Look for the stuff like that. But I like not just for sale by owners. For sale by owners, not necessarily the newspaper or Craigslist, but for sale by owners that we're going to mail to. Now, where do you find a list of people for sale by owner to mail to? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about mailing to a group or category of people who should be a for sale by owner or could be a for sale by owner, not necessarily actively advertising it for sale by owner. Okay? So a mailer could go to lists like, some of the best lists I've found are, number 1, non-owner occupied. Now you might think that's rental, but they're not all rentals. Sometimes there you have kids living in there, sometimes it's a vacation home, sometimes it's an inherited property. Probably more than half are rental properties, but you can buy a list in an area of non-owner occupied properties. You can get that from a title company or a list broker because tax rolls will show the address of the property being different from the address of the taxpayer. Okay. So you can mail to non-owner occupied. You can mail to people in foreclosure. That's an easy list to buy. Although everybody's mailing to that list, and very few of them have any equity, so I don't know you're going to get a lot of results out of that. We'll get back to that in a little bit. People who just inherited properties, that's a list you can buy. People who have just inherited properties, you can tell because the deed is called a personal representative's deed or an executor's deed. That gets picked up somewhere on public record by a list company, and then they sell that information. Okay, that's a very targeted and very good list. A little harder to find though because the county doesn't keep track of that. Individual list companies pick it up, whereas non-owner occupied is pretty easy. Okay, people who own houses free and clear have no mortgage. That could be a cash deal, or if they have no payment, they may not be that motivated. Maybe a terms deal, if that's what you're looking for. Okay? So lots of different lists that you can buy and mail to and get people calling you. All right? It's a different conversation when someone calls you versus you call them off of Craigslist versus them calling you. Totally different conversation. Okay? And if they call you and they don't sound motivated, they're full of crap because they called you. They called you for a reason. Just remember that. Okay? Sometimes you get these people just being a wise ass, just shopping, but whatever. Another list. Expired listings. You can buy a list of people whose listings with brokers just expired, meaning 3-6 months, no sale. That could be another one. Now, this could be a false positive in some cases because sometimes they just switch brokers or they what's called rebake the listing, meaning it wasn't selling, so they took new pictures, took it off the MLS for a week and put it back on. So, not really sure there, but worth mailing to, expired listings. All right? Or also, you can just do what's called a shotgun. If you got a neighborhood that you want to work, you know, you can just buy a list of every house in that neighborhood or every house in a subdivision or two and just mail to everybody, or everybody in this condo association and just mail to everybody. Okay? All good potential lists to mail to. Now, let's talk about what to mail. You can mail a postcard, and if it's a list like the non-owner occupied, I might use a postcard first just to weed out the bad addresses because postcards are cheap. What kind of postcard? You can go with the straight black and white, buy from the post office. Literally just buy the postcards with the stamp on them. Bring them to an offset printer and just print a basic black and white We Buy Houses message. Okay? In the course manual you'll find different samples of that. And by the way, I'll give you the link later on this afternoon for the download of the course manual and forms. In there you'll find different samples of different postcards. So one way is you go to the post office and say, I want 5,000 postcards. You may have to go to a major branch to do that. And then you bring it to a printer and print a message and just send them out with a label on it. The other way to do it is a fancy postcard. Okay? So if you use places like Vista Print, they also do postcards. And you can upload a list from Excel and then design it online real pretty, and then they will mail it out, either a regular or the oversized postcard. Okay? So either way, personally I've had better luck with the US Post Office one. Okay? Especially if the original that you're photocopying is in like a Sharpie, written like you could write on a white piece of paper, dear, and then a little blank, and say, I'm interested in buying your house. Please give me a call if you're interested in selling. Bill, and then you have them printed, and then it's in your handwriting, so you just take the card and fill in, Dear Bob, Dear Nancy, Dear Fred, Dear Joe, you know, and so forth. And then just on the other side, you can handwrite the address, email it out. That's probably your most effective postcard. Takes a lot of time, though. You might try split testing, you know, maybe do 1,000 of those and 1,000 of Vistaprint just to see which one pulls better for you. Depends on the neighborhood, depends on a lot of factors, sometimes just a fluke, you know, depending on who's answering the mail. The more expensive thing would be a printed letter. That would be something that's personalized, typewritten, professional with your logo, your company, about what you do, and so forth. That letter pulls pretty good. Generally, if they open the envelope, and by the way, the envelope is key. No matter what you put in the envelope, you better handwrite the address and put a live stamp. Don't meter it, don't put labels. Nobody's going to open it. It's junk mail. Okay? No return address, or just a return address, no name. Handwritten addressee, or computer generated to look like handwritten. We'll get to that in a minute. And a stamp. And something funky like Love or Elvis or something like that. And then mail those out. Now the inside letter could be typewritten, professional, brochure, whatever, but the outside they're not going to open it unless it's very, very personal looking. Okay. The other type of letter is called a yellow letter. Now this is by far been the most effective for us. A yellow letter looks like you took, you know, yellow paper, a yellow pad, and hand wrote a letter to this person. And you can do that. You can handwrite it. Dear Fred, I'm interested in buying a house in your area or in this neighborhood. Put the name of the neighborhood down. My wife and I are looking to move very quickly on this, so if you have any interest in selling your house there, please give me a call. Your name. Now it sounds like you're saying I'm going to buy and live there. That's why it's so effective. And because it's personalized, because it's handwritten, very, very, very effective. Now when I say effective, meaning what should you get in response? Depends on the list. Non-owner occupied, you mail a postcard, you should get maybe 1 to 2% response. That's 1,000 letters, 10 to 20. That's it. A yellow letter should pull 4 to 5%, which is 40 to 50. And that's all you need. That seems low, but it's very, very effective. Now, some people do postcard, yellow letter, printed letter, or printed letter, yellow letter. And by the way, most people who get the two different letters, they don't realize it's the same person because it looks so different and they're not paying attention. Some people look at a yellow letter and just go, this looks like a scam. Some people look at a printed letter and they're more convinced. More people, if you're just going to mail once, do the yellow because it's a higher response. If you're going to mail multiple times, go postcard, printed yellow, or postcard, yellow, printed. Does that make sense? Because some people, more people will open the yellow, but you'll get different 2 or 3% that'll open the printed. Does that make sense?